New introduction here. I want to get everybody's attention for what I feel will be a lucrative opportunity. It's the first ever NYSE marijuana IPO. We're making history here, and I feel this is just the first stepping stone in what is going to be the start of many IPOs on both the NASDAQ and the NYSE. I feel we're going to have a marijuana sector and marijuana ETFs in the future, and this is just step number one. If you are familiar with the industry, that's all I have to say. I know you're interested already. If this is new to you, this is going to be, in my opinion, the greatest financial opportunity in our lifetimes. This has never happened before. We have an established tens of billions dollar industry that the floodgates are going to open. It's becoming more and more legitimate legally, and this is just step number one. So Innovative Industrial Properties is the company. The ticker is IIPR. It is a real estate REIT that invests in medical marijuana facilities. And for this IPO, we have a new website, www.mjipo.com. I put together an hour of research video going through the filings, researching the company and the executives, and establishing a game plan, looking at some other IPOs and how they have traded. We're going to have a chat room with live Q&A during that day, Tuesday, November 22nd. And we'll also have the live webcam where I'll be showing our charts, going over, pointing out key support and resistance levels, looking at the volume that's coming in. I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. I hope you will join us. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get into the charts. Hello, everyone. Looking at three names here, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, and putting them lumped together because they are part of a group, a greater group that I call the election dumpers. A bunch of tech names, Baidu, Baba, Tesla, all saw a very bearish reaction to the election, but a lot of them are forming bullish reversal candlesticks on the weekly time frame, so we need to pay close attention to these names heading into next week, especially if the S&P 500 gets that blue sky breakout all-time high. We should expect those bounces to continue, and we're looking for confirmation and a green week this coming week. If we don't get that, we know these tech dumpers are still very weak, so must see confirmation on the weekly. Let's start with Amazon. It was the strongest of the tech dumpers on the bounce. Each day was a higher low and a higher high, and we saw a really nice recovery. We went from the low of 710 all the way back up to 767. So big time moves on that 4-day bounce, but it is a bearish reversal candlestick after that bounce, ending the week Friday. Big upper wick, doji, and a red day on Monday. We will back test the 10-day moving average support of 755.50 or so by the open. And if we see a red day, it will confirm this doji, and we'll look for a pullback and a higher low to be established compared to that 710 level. We are on the verge of a bullish MACD cross, and we do have a nice, healthy, bullish reversal hammer on the weekly time frame off of the lower Bollinger Band support and maintaining the higher low pattern. This support back here of 682 was the level to hold, and we formed a higher low at 710. So we do need that green week. We've seen 5 red weeks in a row prior to last week. Now we need green confirmation. We have the middle Bollinger Band and the 10-week moving average resistances to be watching. Because this 10-week support held multiple tests for essentially 8 months, it's now acting as tough resistance, with the past 2 weeks rejecting on the back test of those resistances. So checking in on Netflix, it was one of the weaker names on this pullback, and that is because we broke 116.50, and we really didn't have much support in this gap. And we did end up finding support on the weekly chart, which we'll look at here. So it looks like we bounced out of nowhere on the daily chart from 110.68, but in reality, the weekly support is what held. But look at this 116 psychological level. 6 days in a row, we have rejected from this point, unable to close above it. A close above 116 and a 10-day moving average resistance, which will be around 117 on Monday, will show short-term upside. But as of right now, the bulls are really struggling at that level. But it too is a bullish reversal candlestick right off that 10-week support. So that's why looking at multiple time frames is really important. You look at the daily chart, you say, okay, we broke that level. We're working down on filling the gap. I'm looking at previous resistance, now support 106.97, and then we bounce out of nowhere. But if you were watching the weekly time frame, it's right off that 10-week support, and it makes a lot of sense. So we have held that 10-week support now. Look at all these support tests. We broke above it back in August. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, now 10 tests in the past 3 months, holding every time. That's a very key level. So just like Amazon, the bulls need confirmation next week and green upside. And the perfect start, the best start that the bulls could ask for is a close above 116 on Monday. And then we're looking to break the high of this week, 116.81. Google last here, also weak. Did see a nice bounce, but the bounce was on decreasing bull volume and a very bearish end of the week. A rejection from the 100-day moving average resistance 2 days in a row, a close near the low of the day indicating further weakness into Monday, and an increase in bear volume compared to the decreasing bull volume. So it looks like just another lower high in this pattern at this point. The bulls are going to have to establish a higher low. Maybe the 200-day moving average will be that target down at 761. That would be a pretty significant pullback back down to that level. We also have support here, 765, with the low of these three candlesticks, 765.54, 22, 766.33. So that's a support level as well, right above 765. We'll be watching to see if we get that further momentum to the downside that was indicated, but it still is a bullish reversal candlestick on the weekly as well, off of 50-week support. The middle Bollinger Band rejected the high of the week at 789.55. So weekly middle Bollinger Band resistance lining up with daily 100-day moving average resistance, making that a tough level going forward. So all of these names need confirmation on the weekly time frame next week with a big solid week to be looking for the election dump reaction to settle in and reverse that weekly trend, at least for the short term. And again, there's a lot more names in this group, but I feel Amazon, Netflix, and Google, part of those FANG stocks, all trade pretty close together. So we're looking for Amazon, potential confirmation, red day on Monday, if we confirm that doji. Netflix needs to close over 116, and Google, very weak end of the day, close at the low, looking for further pullback there on Monday as well. We'll check back in eventually. I appreciate you watching. Have a great weekend.